Well, look at that. It all could be soon. Hemp turned into marijuana. A bill to legalize the growing and harvesting of the plant now awaits Governor Hochul's signature.
It's not a matter of how we're going to do it. It's when is the state going to allow us to do it.
If the governor gives it a green light, farmers could start growing cannabis.
This move is needed to speed up establishment of New York's brand new cannabis market. But as Chase Howell reports, growers still face hurdles. Chase?
Yeah, after a significant amount of rainfall last year, a lot of hemp farmers saw their crop get washed out, making it hard to prove they've been growing and harvesting hemp for 2 full years, a requirement that's part of the new legislation.
Hemp farmers are high off a major win. New York lawmakers pushing a bill forward Wednesday that would allow licenses to grow and harvest marijuana.
It's really, really huge news. It's a great opportunity. The fact that we may be able to put plants in the ground this year is such a big win for the cultivation community.
Zach Sarkis, the owner and operator of Flower City Collective, says he's been ready to transition from growing hemp to marijuana. He says the two are very much the same plant. Some buds express CBD, creating hemp. The others expressing THC, creating marijuana.
We built out a production process all the way from starting seeds, to planting, caretaking, harvesting that is reflective of the cannabis plant in general that can apply to both CBD production and THC production.
Some hemp farmers say it's not going to be so easy applying for a license to grow and harvest marijuana. One requirement in order to receive a license is to have been growing and harvesting hemp for 2 out of the 4 years.
A lot of farmers, last year we had record levels of rainfall in New York that destroyed a lot of the crops. The issue with that is if you had grown for 2 years and last year was your second year of growing, a lot of farmers that we know of weren't able to harvest because their crops were destroyed.
Co-founder of Rock Hemp, Trevor Slusarenko, says the legislation is a step in the right direction, although he would like to see the requirements loosen up to be more inclusive. But even if he's not able to receive a license, he's optimistic his time will come.
It's always going to be a possibility, and it's going to be a reality for a lot of hemp farmers. But, there's always next year. There's always going to be changes to these legislations. There's always going to be new ways to enter the market as the legalization kind of rolls out. So it's really just waiting for the right opportunity to get in for your business.
Sarkis is also extremely excited about how many jobs the new legislation will bring into Rochester. He says people will be moving to places like Rochester to fill the abundance of jobs.
We begin with breaking news. A booster mandate for healthcare workers in New York has now been put on hold. The booster shot deadline was to take effect on Monday. Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Ryan.
And I'm Doug Embledge. The state says that requirement will be reassessed, but for now it is delayed. 13 Wham's Natalie Kutchko joins us from the newsroom with more on that.
Yeah, the decision came down from the Department of Health earlier this afternoon, eliminating the Monday deadline healthcare workers could have faced. And in the wake of significant staffing shortages, this will help streamline the healthcare workforce. Come Monday, healthcare workers across New York State will not need to have received the COVID-19 booster shot in order to go to work. This announcement from the state comes as a surprise to some in the healthcare field.
I was surprised, I have to say. It's got to be somewhat of a breath of relief to not have to think about that administratively and then be concerned about people dropping out of your workforce because of unwillingness to comply. It gives you a little breathing room.
In the wake of a staffing crisis felt throughout the industry, Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce CEO Bob Duffy says the decision will relieve pressure on local healthcare systems.
I don't think hospital systems or nursing homes or other healthcare facilities can afford to have any more reductions in staff or people leaving. It's at a crisis point right now. It's met with open arms by both systems because with a definitive date on for either you walk off your job or get boosted, if they can't get that done, then it certainly is not going to help the staffing issues.
According to the most recent data from the state, 67% of healthcare workers at Strong Hospital have been boosted, 50% at Highland, and 64% at FF Thompson. In the Rochester Regional Health System, 61% of staff at Rochester General have gotten a COVID booster, 55% at Unity, and 43% at Clifton Springs. Administrators were prepared to give workers temporary exemptions if they had a recent case of COVID. Now the state says it will reassess any further steps in the months ahead.
In terms of, not having to worry about enforcing that. But of course, it's still good practice. It's still good medicine. And, we encourage people to continue to get the booster when they become eligible to get the booster.
And we also heard from the head of Thompson Health, who says this announcement is a relief for them as well, as more than 500 healthcare workers within their system were not boosted. They say this will help to rebuild after the impact from the pandemic in the last 2 years.
Few days, it is not over yet. Scott's updated forecast is coming up. We're going to begin, though, with Jane Chaco and just how the big change led to some big headaches. Jane?
Yeah, Don, you can see how fast the water behind me is moving in Honeoye Creek. And earlier today, you could see big chunks of ice moving down the creek. I spoke to one woman who had an ice dam right in her backyard.
Normally, there's a nice, quiet, babbling brook, and this is like maybe a 5-foot drop off into the creek. And of course, today it's not there.
Cheryl Lozier has been watching Honeoye Creek all day. She says lots of ice came down this way and gathered right here in her backyard.
This year, because of the quick freeze we had and now the warm up we had yesterday, everything broke up and came down at one time.
As the ice gets stuck, it builds a natural dam that blocks the flow of water. The water builds up behind the ice and is now flooding into the woods and Lozier's basement.
We have water in our basement this year, and normally we do not because we have 2 sump pumps in our basement just to avoid that. And for whatever reason now, this being up here against our bank, we've got about an inch of water in our basement.
At Black Creek Park in Chili, the grass is covered in a mix of snow and puddles. The creek is overflowing onto walkways and into the road. A car got stuck this afternoon attempting to turn around. Next to a road flooded sign, the car got stuck in what looks like snow but was really water from Black Creek. There were several roads with flooding this morning and signs cautioning drivers to slow down. In downtown Rochester, the Genesee River was roaring today as water plunged down High Falls. And as those temperatures drop this weekend, you can expect the flooding in any of the roads to recede in about 24 hours.